camera, and he ran and got in the picture. Trying to think her name, John. I have to go through my telephone file, I guess. I've got a picture. I don't know what I did with it. I don't think you have it. Probably threw it away. It was framed like this of that faculty when there was about 60 of us. You have that?
I think I do have one of
Don't
those.
go get it. Don't go get it. He was unhappy then, wasn't he?
He looks like Courtney does in one of her pictures. I have a picture of Courtney and Stephanie, which Courtney looks just like that. She looked pretty miserable herself.
All labeled.
But those people I worked with don't ever mean to anyone that follows me. This are cousins. This was made in Lita's house one time, and I can't remember. Uncle Earl, there's Uncle Earl. That's Orton. No, that's HD. That's Orton, and that's Leroy. Earl Wilson, the youngest of those 11. The first one is Orton, HD, and Leroy Wilson, his sons. Had 3 sons. Uncle Earl Wilson.
Who's seated?
Uncle Earl.
Oh.
He's the youngest one of the 11 children. His wife Angela always said he was the baby of the family. And see, this is my principal, my first principal, Zelfa Shoemate. She lived to be about 95 or 96.
Wow.
This is Ben Fryler, and then you had one of Mr. Cox here someplace.
I think it's on the other page.
This is Uncle Earl. The first one is Emily. The second one is Jeannie. And the third one is Linda. Uncle Earl seated in the middle. Earl Wilson. Emily's the one I visited in Irving when I went up there in May with Bob and Marlene.
And who's the one on the right?
Linda. Linda is married to a guard at the prisoner, that famous prison in Kansas. Starts with an L.
Leavenworth.
Leavenworth. He was a twin. And those twins, both of them had come to their house. One of them ran around with their son Leroy, and one of them married the daughter Linda. And she said when I'd go to the door, I wouldn't know whether I was supposed to shake hands with him or hug him.
Doris.
Probably. That belongs, yeah, Doris and me up in Doris's apartment in Des Moines, Iowa. Let's see the date. Yeah, 84. I'd like to know how she's got along with that
These are all
flood.
labeled. Might be it.
What did you do with the pictures from the old book that fell apart?
I got those in another drawer. I'll pull those out, and here's some old ones. older ones. Ellen and Tommy Nelson.
Now that's Edna's daughter Ellen, and they live in Kalispell, Montana. Who's this? Oh, that's Steve Alley that used to live across the street from me. See, some of those could be thrown away because they're not going to mean anything to anybody.
Yeah. So these are labeled.
Okay.
Andy, 1971.
Now that's Lita's grandson. She has Rick and Randy grandsons. Rick is the same age as Julie, maybe a year older. And Randy just built a house up there east of his mother and dad's. They have a little girl named Courtney, and Courtney runs off and goes to grandma's. Courtney's not old enough to be going to grandma's.
Not good.
And there's a hardtop road where they speed that she crosses. And Lita and Rosalie's Lita's daughter, were worried about that. How would those kids go?
Our Courtney.
Just about as determined, I think. Cute little gal. Cute as the dickens. Her daddy is Randy. Rosalie and Walter brought the three children. That would be Debbie and Rick and Randy to Houston when Randy was a baby, and I kept them while they went to the Astroworld. No, while they went to Galveston.
Oh.
Well, there's Uncle Earl and Zella. That's Leroy and L.H. No, Leroy and Joanne. L.H. and... No, I got it mixed up. That's Leroy and Gloria. L.H. and Joanne. Bob and Emily. I guess this was before Linda and Laura Jean were married. This is probably some of Aunt Eva's pictures. Now this looks like Lita and Tip. Lita and Tip. And they had one daughter, Rosalie. And you probably have heard about the other daughter, Wilda. Rosalie came home one day and had Wilda by the hand and said, Wilda doesn't have a mother, and she's having a pretty hard time. Could she be my sister? And Tippy said, well, you know, that would change your life considerably. You would ordinarily get a dress, you'd have to wait until we could afford two dresses because there'd be two of them. Oh, I don't know, they had quite a long talk. When they got through, Rosalie says, you gonna let her stay? And they raised Wilda. And they used to come to the family reunions, and Rosalie would take her around to all the aunts and uncles and cousins and say, this is my sister Wilda. And Lita Tip would just stand back and watch her and wouldn't say a word. We'd look at them like, well, what's going on? And when they graduated from high school, they gave Rosalie and Walter a kind of a nice little wedding in the church at Metz. And one night Wilda was gone and they had a note there, and she and Jim had run off. And they were so disappointed. They wanted to give her the same wedding they gave Rosalie. And she wrote a note and she said, I just couldn't let you do it. You've done so much for me, I couldn't let you do it. So when Tip had his accident and was out in the woods where that chain came loose and went around his neck, they took him into the hospital. Wilda was there that night, and he asked for Wilda too. He asked for Rosalie, and then he asked for Wilda. And she had, I know this is Kelly, but I don't know the rest of these. I'm sure that Deborah and Rick, that looks like Rick and Randy, but I don't know. But anyway, the kids got grown, and I knew this picture was going to show up, and I don't know those people. When her kids got grown, why, she just told Jim she didn't want to be married anymore. And she walked off and left him. Went to Nevada. Was living in one room down there. He went on down to Bartlesville, Oklahoma, and went to work for Phillips Petroleum down there. And finally, Lita got a letter from him 2 or 3 years later, and he said, I have tried to reason with Wilda and reason with her, and she will not come back to me. And he said, I'm lonesome. I'm going to get married again. Mm-hmm. So he did. And every year at Christmas time, he comes through there, he and his wife, and they come out to see Lita and bring her a little kid to visit with her. Mm-hmm. And Wilda wouldn't have anything to do with Lita for a long, long time. And Lita said when I was up there in June, she said, you know, every once in a while I get a call from Wilda, and she'd say, well, when are you coming into Nevada again? Let's meet for lunch. And she said, I just didn't think I'd ever see that day again. But that is Lita and Tip and probably Rosalie and Wilda and their family, and I couldn't name them.
Why did she quit going to see her? Why did she quit visiting?
I don't know if she felt guilty about her divorcing Jim. Mm-hmm. And Jim just never has let go of Lita. It's still his mother-in-law. Mm-hmm. And he takes his wife there, and that's the way it is. I don't know these two pictures. I wish you would go up and let Lita identify them. I can identify some. I'm not even sure. I thought I was in that picture, but I'm not. This is Clyde. This is Roberta. I don't know unless that's Robert. I just don't know who they are. That's Rex Knowles, the wife. And I don't know which one's Rex. Lita would have to identify him. There's Uncle Earl and Aunt Zella. Uncle Earl married Zella Gregg. And there's that's Leroy and Gloria. That's L.H. and Joanne. So that has to be Bob and Emily, but it doesn't look like them. And this would have to be Linda and Laura Jean. They're older, the two youngest daughters. You want me to write that? Emily and Bob. Left to right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Emily, Bob.
I thought it was
No, it's outside.
Emily was the oldest. H.D. and Gloria. You know who that is, Emily? I believe that must be Orton. That's not Emily. That is Dorothy. Let me tell you about that Orton. Two or three different times when I was up there in Missouri and got up on the bus didn't have a car. He would bring his car to me and say, just keep it as long as you're up here, Mildred, I can walk to work.
Good.
Would you like to meet that guy?
Yeah.
I'm going to give up. I'm making a mess of this. That is H.D. and Joanne. And then it's Leroy and Gloria. Boy, I made a mess of that. This is their children. They had 6. 1, 2, 3, 5. And that must be Jeannie and Linda and Zelena Flirtle. That's got to be them in Kansas City. Rex and that's Aunt Eddie. That's Roberta. That's Bob Knoll. Who did I say that woman is? Rex and who the rest of those are. Bob Knoll. I don't see those people enough anymore. Know who they are.
That little bird that was calling.
Was that what that was?
Oh.
I just don't know them. I've forgotten Rex's wife's name. Rex and Roberta and let's see, Rex and Roberta and Tommy. That would be Tommy. This is Bob. So that would be Bob's wife, and I forgot her name. I don't know. Don't know their kids at all. That's getting too many generations away from me. Yeah. See, Roberta and Bob. I guess Wilma might have been in there, I don't know. But that's an Knoll family. N-A-L-L is who that is. I can't identify the women. One of those girls, his husband died, worked in the post office in Kansas, and he died of, what he died of? I think what my dad died of, Parkinson's, but I'm not sure.
Who's this at the beach?
Well, I kind of think that's me, and I think that's the old Chevrolet. This is me, and that was made in Little Rock, Arkansas. Interesting, isn't it? I came down through, coming from Missouri one time, and I stopped and looked up a school friend of Aunt Eva's. Aunt Eva was gone by then. And this woman said, Mildred, I want to see you. Come by. I haven't seen you since you were a little girl. Sometime when you're in Missouri, come back through Louisville. So I stopped. She lived in a trailer, found her. And we went out and ate a hamburger together and visited. Came back and she says, I want to take a picture of you. And she said that to me. And I expect that was made about 1970. What day did ever die? When did Aunt ever die? 73?
74. 74.
Okay, so it was made along 75, 76. Going through these pictures, I think, my land, I've done quite a few things, haven't I?
No kidding.
Made some trips and don't have any pictures. Well, I threw them all away of those trips to the fall foliage and to Vancouver, and they were all, no one in the pictures would have been anybody knew, and I wouldn't have known their names by now if I hadn't labeled them. Well, what's the picture up there that I had put together? Is that,
That's Uncle Richard, Dad, Uncle Bob.
all of the
ones
three
you had
boys?
hanging in the hall, yeah.
The one of the three boys each time
Yeah.
going up through, don't have to take it down.
Yeah, no, well, that's the other
And who
one.
got there was, oh, what's that one?
The three boys. Remember there was two side by side in your house?
Oh, one was of the school pictures,
Yeah,
and one was Kodak pictures.
yeah. These are school pictures.
I liked them both. But these, you see, were just Kodak pictures. Kind of showed them as they grew up, don't you
Yeah.
think? See, that was taken one time when their cousin Helen was back there, Mama's daughter. That was when Bob graduated from high school. Look how cute your dad is. And that was taken on the farm. This was made outside the Maine's house over on Truro. You ever notice that there's a bird sitting on one of the other of these boys' shoulders? I don't remember which one. That was Petey Pie.
Oh yeah, it sure is.
Petey Pie thought he was one of the boys. Of course he had to have his picture made.
Now, one of these, and
Now see, this is from Bud Klein, and he's the one I visited up near the Yellowstone Park. And this is telling us that he's arrived at well, he went. They sent him to North Africa. Greetings, all is well and safe. Love, Charles Klein. In other words, he was telling us that he had arrived at his destination in the war, which was North Africa. I was talking to him one time. I said, Bud, you ought to take a boat trip in the Mediterranean. If you haven't lived until you do that. He says, Mildred, I made one time. And I don't care to make another one.
here's the one that had the catastrophe.
And see, all of these pictures were made at Big Spring. The year that Richard was born in 41. This is 1942. All these pictures. That was a big mountain behind Bob, your dad, your Uncle Bob had to go up on top of this mountain every evening and look out and see where they were building the airport. And that, I told him, that's where your dad's working. And I don't remember some of these. Oh dear. That was a sandstorm. They had them out there. A lot of these are scenery pictures, aren't they? See, that's Bob. This is Richard. Bob was 3.5, and Richard was like 6 months old. And that's that old thing I used to darn socks with. I handed it to Richard one day, and I said, since you cut your teeth on this, would you like to have it? And he said, I sure would. I was a lot thinner, wasn't I? See, this is Richard. This is Bob. There was a park there. And Bob loved to go down there and swing. and play in the pool. He even got his dad to push him one time. Kind of rare. This is the two of them. Now this picture was enlarged someplace and probably framed. And Richard's nose is skinned. He fell off the bed, skinned his nose. That was in that pool. See, they're having so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Richard could just splash out across there like that and just laugh. He thought that was so funny. This was still in Big Spring. Now that's the Maines, Grandma and Grandpa. That's Cora Maine holding Richard. She had cancer that summer. And I don't know how many trips we made back and forth. Checking on her. Wasn't he cute, dressed up? And that's your Uncle Bob. Of course, that's Richard.
Oh, gee whiz.
I don't know who these kids were, but Bob collected a lot of friends. This was Richard in the tub. This was a theater, outdoor theater. I've gone back up there and looked at that thing a time or two. What this is.
Post office.
Okay. This was in Big Spring, Texas. There's that big old mountain. Here he is, standing up there looking down on the men working. He had to go up. I didn't think about rattlesnakes. I wouldn't have let him done it if I hadn't thought about it. Now, I don't know where the buffalo was. Don't remember. This is when we got back home again. That's on Maine's front porch when we moved back to Texas. I guess that's kind of nice to have it all at once. And that was the summer that, Bud was his number. They had these numbered from 1 to, I don't remember how far they had them numbered. And they just kept issuing the numbers over and over again to people. So the first number drawn was 6, and that was Bud's number. And everybody that had 6 had to report.
Gee.
Now you know who that is without any problem.
Yeah. And
You know
those
the
are,
date.
I think, some of the ones that fell out of here. Just look.
Yeah, they did. This is Elsie at Everett in 1936. Made in up there with our old back up to the old Model A Ford. That was a Sunday that my dad took Opal up there and introduced her as his wife to Aunt Mary. Interesting, isn't it?
What year is this?
1936. Probably May 1936.
That's Everett?
And Elsie.
Anything like him?
Well, that's who it is.
Man.
I can verify that. I took the picture. He was like,
Pretty thin.
he was a freshman in high school.
Well, it didn't go on that page.
No, I don't know where it went. I wouldn't try to put it back. Would you try to put it back?
Well, I thought maybe I could. Some of them I was able to put back.
It's with John R. Maine, Houston, Texas. Well, there's nothing on that page. This was one, oh my goodness. I didn't know I had all these pictures. This is a picture. We had a preacher everybody loved. This was Preacher Scott. Here he is right here. Now, where's his wife? My dad. There's Aunt Eva. There's me. Helen Foreman.
Which one's your dad?
Well, I think the tallest one. Yeah, that's it. Now, Foremans were up there. We were up there. Now, who else was there? I think Clark and Cora were there, but I don't see them.
That looks like,
That looks like Clark.
yeah.
Now, where's
Is
Cora?
that her? Or is that her back here?
I think that's her right there. Aunt Evelyn. And who else went that Sunday? You see who these kids are. This is Helen. Helen Foreman.
Hi, girl.
This is Horace Foreman. Well, come here. I've got to have a hug. Oh, how are you? Okay? Yeah, she's cool. You just slept that little bug off, didn't you?
Feels better.
Just slept it off. I bet your mama's gonna have to fix you something to eat pretty soon, isn't
Yep.
she? Yeah. I don't know whether I could put these back in there.
Want a popsicle for now?
Yeah.
Mama's cooking lunch, dinner, okay? A popsicle? Okay.
This was probably Mona. This was Helen, Horace. This was probably Marjorie. I wonder who that was. Kenneth. You reckon that was Kenneth?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Kenneth was about 3 years younger than I.
Oh, that's your dad back here.
You're right. This is a preacher Scott. This is Mr. Foreman, Don Foreman.
Boy, that dumb is old.
This is, I don't know. Your Aunt Mona could tell you. Might have to send it to her and say, hey, write the names on there. I don't know if it makes any difference. You don't know those people.
Well, I'll just put the ones that are our family. And just
Well,
say,
that's
you know,
just-
third from right or
Mhm.
whatever, you know.
Of course, you know that what that
Yeah.
picture was.
Yeah.
That's my mother. This is a picture I was looking for. I'll take that home. You know that's Dad and I.
Mm-hmm.
That was me out under the lilac bush. That was my mother. I didn't have two pictures of her in there, did I?
I don't know. There's one of your mom right there.
Why don't you go through those pages? Let's see. I didn't have anything. Who did I say that is? Is that
Don
Harold?
Wilson and Harold Wilson children. Don Wilson's children, Harold Wilson's children.
Okay. They're from Iowa. Of course, you know who that is.
This one says, it's a picture of you, Lita, and Thelma all together. And then this one is a picture in a buggy of you, Lita.
All right, let me look through here. There's many duplicates, they weren't all in here. Now that's one of my high school pictures.
Watch out.
Where was
Yeah,
I?
watch out.
Did I ever look like that?
Yeah.
That's Thelma. And that's the class that started out in 1933, and 16 of us graduated.
Mm.
Let's see, who graduated? Roy did, Lita Mae did. No, that's Tommy. Tommy, Lita Mae, Roy. That's not, here's Lita Mae. This is Cordelia. Lita Mae, Roy, me, Thelma, Cecil, Ralph Ransom, Hazel Dawson, Gladys Helen Young, Ivor Worthington, Ruth Yates, Glenn Wilsey. Oh my word, I don't know.
What a hairdo.
Irene Weddle, Bernard Farrell. He's one farm my land, and this one. See this one? And this one. This was Kelso. This was our teacher, Katie Blake. A man used to come there and work on our farm about a generation ahead of me, and he went to school with Katie Blake. And he said the kids would get out in the recess and so forth and sing of all the birds and beasts in the air. I'd rather sit on the roof and hear old Katie growl. They had I don't know how it rhymes somewhere or other. That's my dad. Well, go ahead. Let me see. I'm still trying to find. No. Maybe those pictures will show up. Go on to the next page. You don't have any glue here to paste them back in anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Those are all.
Now see, this is my classmate. This is Elsie Morrison. This is Kenneth, your uncle, your granddad's brother. I lived and worked for this woman when I went to Kansas State Teachers College. This is my dad and mother. This is Helen Foreman. This is Aunt Minnie, Dad, and Uncle Otis. Yeah, I've got those marked. That was Coley. I rode her to school. She and I took 7,200 miles to get my high school diploma. Well, you figure 10 miles a day, 5 days a week is 50, 36 weeks in the year, so it would be 1,800, and 1,800 times 4, 7,200. Now this is Thelma, Hazel Dawson. These are all school friends. This, I don't know. This was one of my teachers. I loved her. I loved her to death. This was Norma Lee Hofson's, my good friend as I was growing up. This was Betty Johnson.
Here's one that says Esther Russell.
I think Esther Russell is in here. And Esther Russell was that Aunt Cora, married to Russell. I don't see her. I don't see her. Well, that's good enough, I think. Didn't know I had that picture. See, so many of these pictures don't really pertain to the family history. I had a lot of friends. I taught this girl.
Oh, yeah?
And I met her in the middle of the street at Nevada one time. Oh, she was this big around. She said, "Why, Miss Wilson, do you know who I am?" And I said, "Well, let me think." She said, "Well, you ought to know me. I married your first boyfriend."
Emily Wilson is missing.
I don't see her. Now that's your dad when he graduated in 8th grade. That's me when I graduated in 8th grade. And that's your dad when he graduated in 8th grade. Now those pictures are kind of important, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
You could pull them out and put them in that family book and label them.
Honey, don't slur.
Mm-hmm. Don't have anything to write on this black paper. Now you see, this is the way I looked when I went to school. And I had on a coat, you see. I had on overalls, and I had my dress folded just right here, across here. So I slipped the overalls off when I got to the girls' dressing room. Now this is Helen Foreman, me, and Marjorie. Marjorie came up to me at the alumni one night and said, "Mildred, do you know who I am?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, you ought to. I could draw you a picture of the house, every room in it and everything that was in it, where you grew up." Finally, I figured out it was Marjorie Foreman, this little bitty thing here. This is Aunt Eva and Marjorie. This is just Aunt Eva. This is Norma Lee Hofstas. That was my good friend, and that was Queen and Mary, the two big old sorrel mares that my dad had. Now that's Norma Lee. She was a bit of an actor. This is me. Now I had a picture comparable to this and put with those peonies I brought back from Missouri, and people could come by my room and say, "Mildred, You didn't write your name, but I knew whose picture that was. Isn't that something? Now this is your dad and I. This is Tippy. I don't see him. I thought I had a better picture of him than that. It's right here. Tippy and your dad. We were at the Big Osage River at Holly's Bluff in Missouri. That was before that. She was going with Tippy. I was going with your granddad.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see those pictures in here. I haven't seen them.
Down there.
And Edna and Minnie. I didn't see it in
Is
this
it
group.
in there?
Flathead River, Montana. This was
The patio?
Aunt Eva,
Oh.
Uncle Otis, Aunt Mabel. That's Aunt Mabel. Uncle Will and Aunt Edna. That doesn't take them all. This is Will Alfred, and that's his wife. Will is the oldest of those 11. And we met in Montana. And this is Aunt Minnie. This is Uncle Otis. This is Will's wife, Mabel. And Uncle Will and Aunt Edna. Who else was up there? I don't know. Oh dear Gussie. I think that's Uncle Will's son Oscar. Brought him over there. Now this is Uncle Will, Aunt Edna, Aunt Minnie, and one of that's Verdi, that's one of Uncle Will and Aunt Edna's daughters. Aunt Edna. Who is this? Uncle Will, Aunt Eva. This is Aunt Edna. They sure look alike there. Uncle Otis and Margie and Ellen. And I took a picture, so I wasn't in there. This was in Montana. Verdi, myself, Ellen, and Margie. And this was in the middle of the Flathead, not the middle of the river, but on a rock in the Flathead River. And this was Ellen and I. This is Ellen. This is me. I was 18. And here we are again in that river. Let's see. This was sunset on the Flathead River. I thought that was a good picture for somebody as dumb as I was with a little cheap camera. Don't you?
They came out good.
Now this was Uncle Dave Brenneman. That's who it was Laura and Ines. And let's see if we can pick this up here. This is Uncle Will. Uncle Will, always Uncle Dave Brenneman. Belle. Well, there she was a Brenneman.
Yeah.
This is a Brenneman. They had a lovely, lovely home. They lost it in the depression and the drought hit all at the same time. Aunt Rena Aldridge, Betty, Isabel, Hazel, Howard, Brown. Well, that's all that Hale family. That's the Hale family. This is in South Dakota. This is that beautiful home that they lost.
Okay, he's just calling out.
This
What is he calling out?
Calling Mommy and Daddy.
Huh?
this is Lita's cousin and no cousin of mine.
So they know where
I wonder if we ought to send that to Lita. Oh, this was one of my boyfriends,
Or East Hand,
Eastland.
Eastland.
Your dad worked for him in the valley. Met your mother. This was not the Earl Wilson that was of the 11. This was in Iowa. There was Charlie and Alice, and then they had this family, and Don Wilson's boy. And he and I just fell in love. And we wrote letters until he married. And he died. He mowed the yard and come in and died of a heart attack. This is...
Steffi, be careful you don't pinch him in the door, okay?
Huh?
Be careful when you shut that
See,
door.
I don't have
Why?
that picture.
Dad polishing the Model A.
I don't
That
have
would be a good one to have. I wonder what happened.
I don't know.
Wasn't like me by the door.
Aunt Eva was... This was before...
He wasn't.
I don't think any of these were... Let's see. Let me go back through here. I don't think that was him. I just don't think it was.
Yeah, this one doesn't have any glue on it.
I don't think it was in there. Now this is Ira and myself. And this was, I think, was supposed to have been me. Well, I don't know if it makes any difference. You can't see it. There's my dad.
I saw that picture.
Now see, this is Aunt Mary and I when I was a little girl.
No.
And that was on the Raines place. That's kind of how I remember that Raines place. Let me count these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I thought that